Hey friends, welcome. Thanks for being here. Really honored to have Steve Falconer today. And him and I have been talking through Telegram and social media and finally get to hang out on screen together. Welcome, Steve. How are you doing today, man?
Yeah, really good, brother. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, we're on our little secret society Telegram group, which won't be named. And yeah, I've been following your work, so it's really nice to finally actually sit and talk. I think it's going to be cool. I'd like to get out there. I'm into like psychonautic stuff. I'm really into. I'm
Yeah,
into the metaphysical. That's really where I'm really liking to be these days.
cool, man. Good to have you exploring that. And you've shared some of your history, and it's really powerful stuff that's happened to you. And for me too, I don't, a lot of people might not believe these stories that you and I have, where like these psychedelic kind of breakthroughs happen and you had access to things even when you're not on substances. That's kind of my main message is we don't need, and I party. I'm not claiming that I don't work with substances ever. I have fun in this world and I've learned to work with those medicines or whatever you want to call it, drugs, caffeine, cannabis, alcohol, mushrooms. Like I think it's an incredible way to celebrate life sometimes. And but I also practice not being with it ever, like for long periods of time. And I have bigger breakthroughs in my dreaming when I'm sober because I'm saving all that energy for that alone. But I appreciate you dropped a gem in the Telegram group about some people can work with alcohol every day and they know how to connect directly to source through the sunlight. They're sun gazers. A lot of the old Indians I learned from would sip whiskey and like cross canyons at night in the dark because they could enter those altered states with the medicines. And I've heard you and Steve talk about Steve Young about alchemy and that it has to do with how you perceive the thing that you're taking into your body, what you're doing with it. So to me, that's in the realm of psychedelic is just how do people navigate their substances. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, yeah, man, Joel, that's interesting too because you've heard this a lot too. There's a lot of people who say spirits are called spirits because when you drink them, the gin can invade your body and this and that. And you're
Yeah.
like, no, it's called spirit because you've taken a potato or a grape or a pear
Yeah.
and you've distilled it through alchemy into just the essence or spirit of the potato. It's got nothing to do with the gin or whatever. And I've heard you say before, it is exactly what you're putting into it. If you go to the bar and start drinking whiskey because your boss is a cock and your wife just broke up with you and you're miserable and want to take it out on everyone, you are going to act like you're possessed by a jinn. And for all I know, you are. I don't know. We can get into those shadow entities. There's people who can, the normal saying is, can you hold your liquor? It's like I normally say it. There's guys like me where I'm a rock and roll musician. I'm
Yeah.
drinking a lot, and you've seen on the Telegram group, and Steve Young and Mike Winter and I are really good friends. I'll
Yeah.
sometimes come home from the bar like lit after a gig.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've been with the cocoa plant, if you know what I mean. We'll just
Yeah.
leave it at that. And I have profound insights and downloads coming down
Mhm.
what you'd call drunk and a little on a little
Yes.
hanging out with Coco, whatever you call it,
Yeah.
and have extremely profound insights, downloads that seem like they're coming from uh, what you would call my mind and not this other mind. I'd love to talk to you about. I think
Yeah.
you call them the flyers. I want to ask you about is that the air elementals later.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like there's this mind you can control that Steiner talks about that we ignore, and
Mhm.
there's this other one that's like you know, um, and
Exactly.
yeah, I'm with you. Like I think if you're taking substances and you can't handle them, you'll know.
Right.
You'll
Right.
be getting right, don't you? You get feedback from those around you, like you're.
Yeah, for sure. And the world, just like the events that happen in your day are going to be a reflection of you running from something, right? So, like, there's signs and omens that show up throughout our life and let us know if we're on the right track.
Yeah,
And,
it's funny. I quit smoking weed like probably a good 10 years ago. I used to smoke a lot of weed because I live in Copenhagen. It's weed
yeah,
central. We're
yeah,
like like a little Amsterdam. It just didn't do anything for me anymore. And I could feel that I couldn't remember things. it started to get like that. I was getting signals that this medicine's not for you anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I don't miss it. And I think if you're listening, it'll tell you.
Yeah, it becomes, for a lot of men, it's like a girlfriend. They just keep smoking cannabis to like get that feminine energy. And it can get in the way of dreaming because you're borrowing from the dreaming energy when you smoke. That's why like a lot of my friends don't remember their dreams unless they're in jail because that's the only time they don't smoke weed, right? It's just like it's the only way out. And so they have these really profound experiences every time they go to jail for whatever. And it's just hilarious to see that program. And I'm also on the same, I'm dancing with it again, and I've been off of it for a while, and my dreaming went really incredible. And then I was at a show with friends and it was like the perfect thing to do. And I had the time of my life. And so I'm just open to, I don't really follow any rules, but I do get really strong, like, oh, I'm done with everything. And I tell people, and then like a month later, I'm playing with it. So I don't pretend to be a master of my distractions or substances. But I do, whenever I do, I'm going to have the most fun time possible with every day and make every moment count. And that's kind of like how you become a good person for psychedelics is no matter what happens, you know how to react and you can help those around you just by pointing out the obvious that we don't need to let this become anything other than what it is. And so our reactions on substances for me, it's spirits. I connect to there are energetics that will try to hijack you when you're open. And there's also helpers. Like I have a girlfriend who died who shows up and teaches me how to dance and snowboard and she's really powerful, very close. We were close together in this world and we're very close still. And so spirits do open you up to conversations, to downloads, to all kinds of divine revelation. And there's a little tax that you pay. Our body pays a little tax for everything that we put in it. But it's that navigation of what feels appropriate for your life.
Yeah, I think it's the same with food. I don't get into all the diet wars, the vegan and the meat. And
Yeah.
to me, it's like I don't, if there's a chemical shitstorm on a package, don't eat it.
Yeah.
But if you do eat it, enjoy it. If you're going to eat a Twinkie, man, just make the
Yeah. Have
most
fun.
out of the Twinkie, right? Like you'll live. You can't live off Twinkies, but you're not going to die from a Twinkie. And
Right.
to me, that's why I cook a lot at home. I really love the zen and the joy of cooking. I know that I'm putting love and energy into making the food, and therefore the food, only 30% of your sustenance is coming out of food anyway. It's
Right.
70% is coming out of the sun, the air,
Oh,
your emotion, other people's emotions. Like, and control dramas are very real. Energy vampirism. We
yes.
all know it. You all have that one friend who's like just a constant
Yeah.
drag. Everything's wrong. I have a lot of English friends where it's in the culture.
Sure.
It's like
Yeah.
culturally English to just whine and whinge about everything. Not that they're even upset,
Right.
just like a pastime, like, oh,
Totally.
bloody hell, and you're like, dude, fuck it, So I am big on that. I will say for me, I think I'm a very open person because I did get heavily into like LSD and mushroom psychedelics in sort of yeah, junior and senior year of high school, and then a lot like I told you about in my first 2 years of college.
Yeah.
I had some experiences on a lot of microdots of LSD that I just can't explain in what we call or are taught is reality, a shared hallucination with a person, as I told you, audible and visual,
Yes.
and proof that it happened. And it always was like, okay, what
Mm.
happened then? Like, what is that? So I do think that it really opened me. I don't really even play with psychedelics anymore because
Yeah.
for me, it did what it needed to do, which is to get me to, I guess what you're in, I guess more like non-plant shamanism. I get it. There's something else going on here. I don't need a drug to tap in.
Awesome, brother. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that I really appreciate listening to your perspective on all kinds of subjects, because you are coming from that more curious place that this is a mystery, that we don't know what's going on, but you're willing to like dive in deep and figure out the way in which deception operates inside of every sort of system that's put in place to hijack our attention, which seems intentional to keep us under hypnosis as a means to make sure that, we're easily controllable and predictable. So you are pulling people out of hypnosis, brother, and I'm doing the same, and we're just doing it from different in different ways. But it's really good to have that Telegram group and hear everybody, coming to terms with different things together. It is lonely and was isolating for me in Seattle during 2020 and everything that got revealed. I was like, fuck, man. It was a hell of a time to be a loner because all of a sudden there was just like I'm the only one not wearing a mask and getting fucked with, and that was a powerful rite of passage. And what you shared today about with Alan Watts, that video where we can post in the show notes here, but it's really potent, man, to like go through these stages. And so I'd love to hear you talk about that video, or talk about that
Well,
subject.
I did that, Joel. That's the thing. So I really had my like real awakening in 2006, where I really was
Yeah.
like, the fuck is going on
Yeah.
here? And I'm talking about, with the politics and all the rabbit
Yeah.
holes. And yeah, so I was kind of writing for this newspaper on Facebook, Truth Serum News, and we had a website. It got shut down. They shut us down.
Yeah.
But I did the wrong thing with that Alan Watts video I was talking about. I thought it was my job and duty to scream from the rooftops and wake everyone up. And
Yeah.
I got attacked, just like that video said.
Yeah.
When I watched that video, it's 18 minutes. I was like, yep, yep, been there, been there.
Yeah.
And it took me really like, I'm a little thick sometimes. It took me 15 years till I'm like, whatever I say doesn't matter.
Right.
I have to just accept that this place is what it is. We're in a trinity, which they never teach us. They tell us it's a duality, but there has to be in this light realm, where I've heard you call it a light cocoon. It's toroidal field. It's a light cocoon. There has to be the possibility for good and evil allowed, so that you have the choice to transcend both, or become both. Up to you in
Yeah.
your journey. And so, yeah, I started to finally realize I'm not going to. People don't want to be woken up. Like, I don't like my alarm clock going off. I don't use alarm clocks. I have a life where I can wake up at noon or
Right.
whatever. So I figured out, like, it isn't my responsibility to fix everything. That I can see it's wrong, but it's not my job to fix it all. And I can't possibly. And I
Hmm.
think, how much of my psycho and spiritual energy did I waste? And how many relationships did I sabotage? I'm
Yes.
blaming them, like, you don't get it. And it's me who sabotaged it.
Totally. Oh, yeah. Good for you, man, to come to that, be able to speak to that and just be recognized. Like I definitely burned some bridges. It was on me, and that video is really helpful to just, it's just a simple video where it explains, the stages, because it is so now much more perceptually liberating to not be at odds with the world as it is, to treat it like a dream. And I think that's the ones that navigate it the best, is that they enjoy their lives regardless of what stories are being told. And that's the 100th monkey thing that leads to us like reclaiming our power.
It is a dream. And I also have experience with, I had some things happen where I had miraculous self healing through mind techniques that are also, that does not supposed to work, like placebo,
Right.
nocebo. Yeah, I had a lot of weird experiences like that as well, where I'm like, okay, something else is going on here.
Cool.
Um, and then, yeah, like you're saying, the liberation. I get criticized by a lot of people because they're like, look at this guy, he's laughing about genocide and this and that. I'm like, I'm not laughing at genocide. I'm laughing at how freaking ridiculous this whole thing is.
Totally.
And it's not solipsism. I'm not pretending that there's nothing going on in the world. I've
Totally.
just come to terms that since at least the Renaissance, there's been a control faction in charge who have made this shit for everybody. I was born into it. And
Hmm.
as you've talked about, which I agree with you, I'm probably still living through that in nonlinear. There's a me in the last probably several times.
Yep.
I'd love to talk to you about that later, reincarnation. We could make a note of that. But
Yeah.
it's like, what the frick can you do? Except my thing is the control faction is trying to make you angry and upset about everything and fighting. Everyone's like, we're in a spiritual war. I'm like, you're not in war unless you want to be in war. I'm not
Right.
fighting anyone.
Beautiful.
I'm having a great old time, as shitty as it all gets sometimes. I'm
Yeah.
fucking loving it, dude. And
Yeah.
I'm not trying to live to 170 or
Right.
300. Like, I
Yeah.
don't give a fuck, man. I'm having a great time. If I
Wow.
die tomorrow, and I think it's because I live my dreams. Like, I followed the career that I always wanted, and it didn't turn out the way I wanted, but I do what I want. And I have found out that when you start acting in service to yourself and the creation, whatever it is, be careful what you wish for, because it gives it to you. It conspires with you to give it to
Right.
you.
Yeah.
And I've learned that. And that's why I'm laughing all the time. And I smoke and I drink and I don't give a shit and I don't
Yeah.
care. The most hardest thing was to liberate yourself from everyone else's ex actually, it's not to liberate yourself from people's expectations of you, it's to liberate yourself from trying to live up to what you think their expectations are. Do you find that?
Yeah, man, that's my dance with like putting women on a pedestal and then letting their perception of reality or what I should be doing with my time hijack my own intuition. And so I'm in this constant struggle of like, what have I done? What am I letting happen here? From my mom who's crossed over, to Erica who's crossed over to my wife of 25 years who I was inside of that power damn it struggle with. And yeah, it's just, and then anyone that I respect in the female world is like I still have this dynamic with that. And so I'm trying to come out of that and become my own person, my own man, right? And also with men, anybody that is powerful and has something really strong to say about this, that, or the other. And so I get a lot of shit for I lose a lot of clients and get a lot of shit for talking about working with alcohol because to them it's low vibe and that door is shut. Nobody should be working with that anymore. But they're all rolling on ecstasy all the time instead. I'm not sure that that's the healthiest thing for you either. Like you people just compartmentalize stuff. It has to do with your intent inside of it. So yeah, freeing myself from the projections of the world, but also realizing that celibacy and sobriety make it so much easier to do the type of work that I'm here to do. So I'm preparing myself to be able to take a break long enough that I can really get to certain areas that I think Carlos Castaneda got to, Carol Tiggs, Taisha Abelar, the book you're reading, The Sorcerer's Crossing, and and then yeah, bringing in the flyers and just recognizing, like Don Juan said, we have a companion for life. There's always going to be this radio channel running, and it can even be just the most ridiculous information that has nothing to do with you. But if you pay attention, your mind is always running some sort of loop or some sort of thing to keep you, and when you turn and face that and try to stop it, it's no joke, man. That pressure that comes in to make sure you stay accessible is ruthless. So, anyways, that's a rant.
No, I love that, man. And I'm also like, I've been, Mike Winter's been getting me into Steiner. It's been a while, but I'm revisiting Steiner. Um, to me, it's like that too. I'm a very left brain person, but I'm also a musician. So you use your right and left hands together,
Yeah.
and then so it makes your two brain hemispheres work together, and also your heart. Because
Hmm.
when I perform, I don't use set lists or anything. I wing everything, and people
Beautiful.
say, "Oh, what was that second to last song you played?" I'm like, "I don't know, dude. I'm not here when I'm performing with public.
Beautiful.
I'm out in fucking the fields. I'm out in La La Land. I'm
Yeah.
not there. I'm in a whole nother dimension than everyone else, unless it's a song I haven't played a lot where I have to think, like really think about it, left brain. I'm not there. I don't remember the last 45 minutes. I'm so in the now. I'm not even in the now. I'm in the somewhere anywhere but now.
Wow.
If well, there isn't even a now because it's always moved. I think the now is an illusion too. But they say, oh, there's no past and no future. There's the now. I'm like, there's not even a now because it's just constantly moving. So you can't even define that. But anyway, Yes, now I lost my track. my, what was I saying? I started. Oh shit! I lost my train of thought there.
No
Uh,
worries, man.
shit! I had a point. It'll come back to me.
Totally.
But
Yeah.
damn, I had a point to make. Oh, but yeah, I even smoke cigarettes and all that stuff too. Like, sure, I'm addicted. You're a shaman. Like you're trying to be a shaman, and you are a shaman. I'm just some guy who makes like movies in my room and like is a rock and roll singer in pubs. I'm not a shaman, so I don't need to live up. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, girl. Yeah, what you were saying about getting away the thoughts. So a girl had sent me a book called the way to a superior man or something like that. It was she was basically her trying to make me become a guy she wanted to be with.
Yeah,
But
so
like the title of chapter two was crazy, man. It said, "Live life like your father is already dead."
wow.
In other words, get out from under his shadow. Like that,
Yep.
you don't. You're living your life, not your parents' expectation. And I read that and I was like, "Holy shit, man! That was such a profound
So
just the
powerful.
title, let alone the chapter, but it really made me think like, yeah, whose life am I living here?
Mm.
And it taught me how to father my son that way too, because I started to realize like, am I being like this, like that to my son?
Mhm.
I'm like, am I pressuring this kid to do shit he doesn't want to do? Like how much I'm having a great life. Who is it for me to say what he can do or not? So that really like made me think about that.
Beautiful, dude. That one of the Carlos Castaneda's sort of main messages to the students was to ghost your parents. Like they were like, you have to like almost offend them to the point that they cut ties. Otherwise, that pressure and I wish they hadn't said that because people went on and did that and everyone got hurt in the process. There's a more harmonious way to free yourself from that shadow, right? And finding that solution that's unique to you is the dance of respect that you have for your parents who gave you life, but also not willing to fall under the hypnosis that they're under, as a means to free the lineage. Really, the ancestors want us to come out of that spell, but it's really hard to free yourself from your family because there's so much expectation and you share luminosity. You look the same. Women used to clone themselves before men were here, so there's so much more to how birthing life can be perceived, the conception act itself, and what kind of explosion occurred for both parties, or whether there wasn't one at all, and it was just sort of like boring. That has an effect on how we come in. But regardless, there's so much work to do around healing our relationship with that bloodline.
Yeah, I kind of slipped during COVID. Like, I had a long, yeah, I won't get too much into my personal life, but I had some trouble with my mother a
Yeah,
lot when I was younger. I had a very, like, a really tough time. And I
yeah,
didn't talk to her for like 20 years.
yeah.
And now we're close as chips. But during 2020 and the COVID crap,
Hmm.
um, my dad actually went out and just went, sheeple to the wind. And
Wow.
in a weird way, I kind of like withdrew from him. I kind of, it was kind of good. I had this, we all have this perception of our father, like he can't do no wrong and this and that. And I thought this guy was like the smartest guy on earth. And then all of a sudden he was doing this shit. And I was like, hold on a second. But I had to do what you're saying. I had to sort of recapitulate, I guess. I had to like say, hang on, he is who he is. And he's now I'm putting my expectations on him. Who am I?
Yeah,
I don't want that on me. So what the fuck am I doing it back to my old man? So I had to step back and again take a look in the mirror
yeah,
and say, who's causing the problems here, Steve? It's usually the guy in the mirror tells you.
yeah.
It usually answers that question. It's not what people are doing to you; it's how you're dealing with it. Really, that's the main
Mm.
thing, the lesson to learn. So I'm totally with you on that. I heard you say too, like you kind of dogged your parents and they didn't really do anything really to you. Like it was okay, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was the one to, I tried to pull my dad out. My mom crossed a long time ago, and I'm kind of, had she been alive during this time, it would have been really hard for me to see her because she was watching The View and all the typical things leading up to it. So she would have been hook, line, and sinkered. But because when I watched her dying, she transformed into a really aware person. So, like, it's interesting what happens right at the edge if you're given enough time. Like, she was no longer someone that could be tricked like that so easily, but it was too late, right? It
But
was
is
too,
it so you can I ask you this because this fat so because of the work you do,
yeah,
you are communicating in the dream state or the waking dream state with your mother and people you know who passed.
yeah,
Are they informed when they cross over that they were, you know, do they get it all now? Like they're into
for
it or
sure. Yeah, it's like it's just so much. Everything's okay, and everything's not a problem, and so information isn't deception based anymore. But they're not attached to the information. It's eternal over there. It's so much. This is just like a story, right? These truths and stuff, they really don't matter over there. There's just it's all love. But it's not like they're just hanging out. They may have left an aspect of their being here, but it's not linear, so it's not really something we can explain in a linear way anyways. But there's part of them that is in another parallel life now, or they moved on and entered what we call the afterlife, where they merged with everything, which is possible as well. And that's the point of the recapitulation. And that's what that book you were listening to, Taisha Abelard, The Sorcerer's Crossing. It's really intense what they're saying in there. But if you find a way to gain access to your memories to the degree that she did, you can, what Carlos calls it is you can bring the past to the present because it's still happening. And so you bring it into the now and you work with it and you clear the charge that's still running. You get your electricity back and you give back any dirty electricity that is in yours or whatever. And it's just a way of making sure that your energy body can get healed properly to start to do things that are non-ordinary. And so the door opens through that work. Some people get there just by taking enough mushrooms, having this ego death thing happen, and they have access to this way of life. And so everyone has a different journey to get there. I teach a way of doing it where you don't have to take any substances. If you spend enough time doing the movements, practicing the breath work, and showing up to the workshops, things start to get really strong.
these are like the magical passes, these energy, you know, like
Yeah.
I clear my sinuses by
Yeah.
making a friction and doing it. Like these are shamanic passes,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're
Exactly.
basically really just learning everything is energy and light, and you can either move it around now or you can tap into the other source of it. So that's kind of funny because like English is the master alchemical language.
Yeah.
Sorcery is from source. It's what,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, the Christian church is like sorcery is the devil, and you're like it means someone who can tap into source
It does.
and use that in this environment. It's not a bad word,
No, no. Beautiful. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it, like you say that like I think you and I have talked about this on Telegram. You can get to a point where you actually use it too much and it ruins a lot of people, or they yeah you can you can get like hyper inflated ego, power hunger. It can really ruin a person if they don't balance it out with humility.
It's really intense. Yeah. There's some real monsters out there that teach the Castaneda material from a very desperate, fear-based place. And they're just really hard on their students. And like, you have to do this all the time. And they're just sending them they're just getting pigeonholed where, they can hear what someone's about to say before they say it. They're not in this reality anymore, so it becomes terrifying. And they aren't energetically prepared for that type of psychicness yet. They're just being forced by their teacher to keep going. And so they're not doing the shadow work. They're not working in a relationship. They're just these like monsters in their basements, like just just boosting each other up, like little, and then they're trolls at the same time. They attack anybody. Like I got kicked out for life from the Castaneda Reddit subreddit, and I got called that like everything I said was made up, and I'm on their blacklist, and it's just this whole like really wicked world of just trying to ruin people. Um, and that's what happens. People get power hungry and they think they're the Neo in the Matrix. So this guy in the subreddit thinks he's the only one, and he can't tolerate that there would be anyone else. So he just is like, it's all his way or no, or you're out. And it's crazy to watch the people that are staying in there because if you can't see what's happening, you've just walked into a massive, intense trap that's going to be hard to get out of.
Man, I mean, and that's just not even with that group.
Yeah,
I've figured that out too. Just because you're spiritual doesn't mean you're a nice person. It doesn't make you
totally.
magically all fluffy. Um, and Manly P. Hall talked about this. I sent you one time, I think,
Yeah, I listened to that.
a treatise on the ethics of magic,
Yeah,
warning people who are messing around in these astral realms and these other realms with these entities, which are very real, different kinds.
yep,
You shouldn't be messing where you shouldn't be messing if you're not ready to be messing around in there. I hear it a lot with people who do dream work and astral traveling. They get these entities trying to attach to them, and it's like you can get into some big trouble and make some deals with some entities you shouldn't be making deals with. And so I'm also with that, but I think it's the same even with waking up.
yeah,
Just what you're saying, like with the Don Juan teaching, you got to take that shamanism a little at a time. Like with great power comes great responsibility, as the Superman thing says. But I think you can wake up too fast too. I did. We all hear what's going on, and then you sit
yeah.
8 hours a day looking at the banking system and the who, and this and that, and pretty soon it's like too much, dude. You're like depressed to the point of there's a lot of truthers I think who have actually, I think we have to say unalived if we're going on YouTube. You can't,
Yeah, yeah.
but there's a lot of truthers who have taken their life because it's like, well, what's the use? It's overwhelming because you get too much darkness and you need to balance it out. You have to have some fun. That's why I'm always laughing. I'm like, even if the world's going to shit,
Yes.
it is what it is. And I'm not, the last thing I'm going to do is let them also take my joy and my freedom. Like if you're going to try to get my freedom, you're not getting the last thing that I control that you can. I'm not allowing it. Even if
Beautiful.
it ends up in the gallows, I'll be that guy in that, what was
Yeah.
that movie Life is Beautiful, where the guy and his kid get in the concentration camp and he's
Yeah.
pretending it's a game the whole time, even to the end.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Right? He just won't let them get the one thing they can't get. And that's kind of where I'm coming from. So,
Me too.
and I'm a very joyful person, even though I've been down the darkest rabbit holes. I've been down them all, man.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, and the Toltecs say that this is a world of terror and beauty, and the beauty balances the terror. And so that's the most important part is that we have beautiful experiences, beautiful conversations, that we're following our heart instead of our mind. And that's not easy for people. People are in their minds, they're not able to tell the difference between their heart space and their mental plane. And so somatic work or anything to get somebody into their feelings again, because otherwise you might just be trying to mimic some archetype like a David Icke or because all these guys walk into their own traps. They're not changing things up enough and they become controllable. I think everyone is controlled opposition because we don't realize there's a force that is hijacking all dramas at all times, all groups, all systems are accessible. And so that's what Don Juan's trying to point out is that I have a companion for life, whether I like it or not. He was able to master his relationship with his mind. He said, I vanquished my mind, right? That means he moved into the pure perception that doesn't require that channel to be on. And
Right.
then,
Like the heart based and absolute perception with your energetic body.
yes,
We've all had I've had that on LSD where like you
yes,
can just do no wrong. You can finish people's sentences. You're like,
yeah,
what's coming before it does. That's what I was going to say earlier. And I lost my train of thought and you just brought it back. So I am a very mental person. I'm a Virgo. I just am. But that's one of the things I'm kind of with Steiner on is I think it's important to learn and study and use your mind because that's different than sitting there listening to that shit in your head all day going, look at that woman, in the supermarket. When you study and think and concentrate and then think on your terms,
yeah.
that doesn't leave room for that other thing to be yelling at you. I agree with you. You have to get into the heart based mind as well. And I've talked to Don Lester a lot. There's people who are missing like 80% of their brain, and they still think fine. Like, so it's
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't really come from where we think it does, but I think it is important that you do use your mind and focus it and
Yeah.
keep it sharp. You can't just be in the heart. I don't think. I think you
I
need
agree.
both.
I agree. Yeah. That's well said.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Toltecs call it no mind, but it really just means natural mind. So that you're not in that channeled realm where you're accessible. And that natural mind is what we call silent knowledge. So silent knowledge is knowing things directly without having to process them through the intellect alone. But you do want to be intellectually functional. You want to be very knowledgeable of systems, ideally mechanical, carpentry, like as much stuff as we understand, the basics that are needed that keeps this place running, that's intelligence in itself, and that keeps us sharp and in our intuition. Like I run job sites not through my intellect, I have to do through my gut, right? It's very gut based. I can sense when somebody's about to do something dangerous. I can feel fights about to break out. It's like you're got to be in the zone to be in charge of systems. And so we want to be sharp as fuck.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Intuition is really important. I think women have like better intuition than the men do, but I feel the same. You just if you're listening to that shit chatterbox in your head, which is not your real true gnosis, I'd love to talk about that. These flyers or these it's that's coming from elsewhere.
Yes.
But if you're listening to that, sometimes you don't hear your intuition, or you even talk that thing can talk you out of your intuition sometimes, like trick you into not listening to yourself. And
Mhm.
I find that a lot. The more I'm, as you call it, in the moment, or even when I'm making a film, even when I make films, I don't write scripts out and stuff. I just make a starting. I know kind of what I want to talk about, and I just sit and make it, like however it comes out. And
Cool.
that doesn't leave me time to think about it and plan it out. It's coming out. And it happens a lot these days where you get so-called synchronicities where I'm getting download of information that I was never taught by anyone. I didn't even look it up. I had a hunch, and
Mhm.
then I go to look it up
Mhm.
to see, like, could this be? I don't know. And sure enough, it is.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy fuck, well, where did that come from?
Right. Yeah.
And that happens I find when you're living in your purpose, or not righteousness, but when
Mhm.
you're living in a state of service and creation, then it's like it just comes to you with no effort at all.
Thank you, man. That's so huge. Like, I think all inventions are just us being told things. Like we're just being worked with in both positive and negative ways. Like we're being interfered with big time, but we're also being totally taken care of, and we don't have to overthink things. In fact, it's when we're in that no mind zone that the information truly can come in large packages. Like it's so Carlos's biggest struggle was making that switch to that telepathy side with Don Juan, making that switch to where he had entire understandings of the nature of this reality when they stopped talking. It was later when he was able to sit with himself and really feel his energetics and the transformations that he had been through. And so Don Juan really properly fucked with him and did all these crazy things to him that, forced him to come out of this real dense perception that he was in. And other students didn't require the power plants, but Don Juan blasted Carlos with power plants because he just didn't have a chance to get to him any other way. And even with the power plants, Carlos still assumed that those things were just like actual prompts and tricks and involved maybe 50 to 100 people involved to have transported his body from one place to another after they knocked him out. Like he just couldn't believe any of it. But eventually he had to accept the fact that he had been a student of a real sorcerer.
Yeah, yeah, because also, yeah, the stuff he talks about, what we're talking about, it sounds so crazy to your average person. They cannot believe that a guy could like fall asleep in a bathtub somewhere and like wake up in another city. And, like it's just, they're like, that's impossible. Or you can't walk through walls, or you can't do this. But when you're in your world, this shit's real and it happens all the time. And I told you about that experience I had in college where on a lot of microdots, this person probably maybe doesn't want to be named, but another person and I took a lot of LSD, and we were tape recorded about the first many hours until we were too far gone to but we were sitting in the dorm room and the wall collapsed and there was a red and pink pulsating, it looked like what you'd think of a Mars background if there were such a thing, with these pyramids, and it was going 10, 10. It was saying 10, 10. And we both saw it, we both heard it. And as I told you in the morning, we our parents were pissed. They had to pay for the heater on the wall was dented in because we clearly got up on the wall, heater to try to go in there.
Wow. Wow.
So and we had tape recording of it, like this is this racket. And then I told you, I think a year or two later, a Pearl Jam album came out called 10. And on the back, you flip it around, there's a pink red background with a band making a pyramid together with their hands. And I called this person. I was like, "Did you see this?" He's like, "Yeah." And for me at that point, I was like, how can two people have a
Yeah.
shared visual and auditory and experiential hallucination?
Right.
How did that happen? We didn't say anything to each other. So it had to be like I don't know. I still can't explain it.
Well, it's for one, it's not a hallucination. There's no such thing. It's just that we perceive non-ordinary reality and then filter it through our own. But when you're both that far deep and you're not filtering it through your own limited perception of what's possible, then you guys had what we call a shared vision. Toltecs say that we're having a shared vision right now, you and I.
I was just going to ask you about that, man. Yeah, I'd love to pick your brains on because I'd like to talk about the other realms, but this realm, there's a lot of people saying simulation theory. We're in a computer program. To me, that's a bit of semantics I don't like because I'm with the idea that this isn't like what we think of as reality. It's a light realm, so it's just information. And since light isn't really there, it's to me to say we're in a computer program simulation. That's still Newtonian materialistic thinking, if you know what I mean. I think this. I think it's a metaphor. I don't think this is a computer simulation that we can't tell we're not in a computer. But what is your teachings of what is this thing we call awake before when we're not sleeping? What is this?
Yeah, I mean we're in a projection, a vision, just like any other dream or vision. It's not physical. It's a holographic projected reality. And there is a construct that's hijacked the storylines. And it's like a simulation running because it's programs. So we're being interfered with by programmable programs. But this is an organic, energetic world. It's not made up. The sun and the earth are conscious beings, as are the stars, as are you and I. And there's animals that are magically aware, and there's some animals that are especially magically aware. Like there's magical deer. Not all deer are like magical to the degree that some are. There's like coyotes that are unique, that are different than other coyotes. And same with people. There's unique people that are just that much more capable of accessing source while they walk amongst those that are, asleep or more in the program. So even I think it was Terrence McKenna would say even in the jungles in the Amazon, it was only the shamans that were aware. The people were still just looking to the shaman for what to do. So it is a role of certain people, and I don't refer to myself as a shaman, but as a student of shamans because the shaman has to go through a particular type of ego death to really refer to themselves as such. But I've worked with so many, I help shamans because a lot of them aren't doing the shadow work or they got caught in the power of it, and I'm still doing the shadow work. I think I'm just in the very beginning of getting to know like what parts of me run the show, my wounded child, my rebel teen. I'm not integrated to the degree that I plan on being or hope to be. But we're all got to face the fact that everyone has holes in their consciousness. So we're all under some form of hypnosis. And that's why we're all bound to this layer of the onion. But if we can come out of the perceptual, like, so I gaze a lot at the world and it all turns fractal, and then the fractals reassemble into something, and I'm overlaying like one layer of the world or like another dimension is in place on top of, like, I can still kind of keep the trees in view or whatever, but nothing is solid. And the more I hang out there, eventually I'll be able to interact in that world on a deeper and deeper level. So this place is just a launch pad. We're not meant to try to escape it, go out into some outer realm and create a home some other place. That there's so many layers here. This realm is sentient. And she has, we call the Earth Matrix. It's not a negative term. The Earth Matrix is the many, many layers of her being. And we're just interacting in one layer, and there's so many more to go into, and that's what we used to do is we used to travel perceptually. We were conscious dreamers, but these flyers have found a way to lend us their mind and have taken over this place and are running programmable simulated storylines that all these actors on the world stage are, they think they have free will, but they're just doing what they're being controlled to do, or they don't think they have free will or atheist or whatever. But regardless, everyone is under such mass hypnosis that it's really confronting and disturbing to actually become totally aware of, but it's also super liberating. So the simulation piece has a role in explaining certain events on the timelines because there is some sort of something that's, but everything, whether it's technology is still magic because everything is magic to begin with. And so we're trying, they think that the transhuman thing can work and it will consume a lot of people, but ultimately you can't destroy creation. It's indestructible.
Because there's a lot of people who are, oh, this is a prison planet and this and that. I'm like, no, to me, there are people who understand the occult and shamanism who have run the planet. There are overlays to this reality,
Yeah.
which if this is really the source or the God mind or the monad or whatever you want to call the one precipitating down into the many,
Yeah.
then this is a realm of mind and belief, or as you say, a shared vision. Well, what is a vision? It's not my desk. Like it's a mind. It's an idea. It's an imagination. So
Hmm.
all you have to do is put overlays synthetic, meaning what's a synthetic overlay? It's a belief system. That's it.
Yeah.
If you
Religion.
believe you can't walk through walls, then nobody can walk through walls. If you believe, that you have to pay taxes and you have to, it's to me, that's all the overlays are. And they're very much geometrical.
Mm.
I've been thinking about this because they say nature never makes a straight line. Everything's curved, but yet everything's made out of light. But light's supposed to be straight beams. And I'm like, well, how that
Wow.
can't be. If everything's light and never straight,
Mm.
then it has to be curved, even though the earth is level. So I'm like, but it's funny that their symbols and their geometry is all cube, triangle. It's all straight line angular overlays, which is very much
Yeah.
not reality. So is that what this is all about? Is part of the overlay that geometrical. So
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. I haven't gone into that too much, but I do believe that we are so easily influenced by the most basic fundamentals that stuff's just so in our face, and it works. It programs, it assists with the whole process. So these are really, really powerful minds at work that are created and I would say that it's not their minds, it's the flyers using them as puppets.
yeah, what are these flyers, man? Can you tell me like what are they, where are they, and what are they getting out of all this? Like what
Yeah.
is this? Is this like the shit? Do you know the psychiatrist Jerry Marzinski? Have you ever heard of him?
I've heard the name, but I've never
Well,
listened.
he was working with schizophrenic patients in like a state mental, like you know dangerous schizophrenics, like in a prison, mental prison.
Totally.
And he started to find out that these weren't voices talking to them. These were entities. And
Yeah.
in psychiatry, it's a no-no to say that it's an
Yeah.
outside entity. It's like, you're making this up, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But he started just saying, well, what if they're not crazy? So he started talking to the entities.
Yep.
And one guy like got very angry. An electric spark flew up Jerry's office wall over the ceiling, dropped into the garbage can, lit on fire. And Jerry jumped back, and the guy, the prisoner said, "Did you see that?" And he's like, "Yeah." Did you? Like, the guy couldn't believe he saw it. He's like, "You," and then he was like, "Holy shit, these people aren't crazy. There are 12 things." And he actually went out with a guy after he started becoming aware of these. He started seeing these shadow kind of entities. They weren't physical, but these acts, because I heard you say some of these shadow beings, they can't really hurt you or do anything to you. But they had an experience where they went out on a truck and they noticed the shadow entities all around the trees in this certain energy dense place. And as soon as they noticed them, these entities started coming at them. And these things got on the truck, and the truck was bouncing as if there was weight to them. So, not that they were shadow, there was a physical density to these. So, is that what flyers are? Are they elementals? Like, what are they?
So the flyers are one of many types of inorganic beings, and so the shadow beings are a different type. There are different ones like the Sasquatch are inorganic beings. There are all kinds of creatures that are observing us that we share this world with, and we're so deeply under hypnosis that we can't interact with them. And usually the only ones that can are schizophrenic. So a shaman is basically a functional schizophrenic, right? That's just the best thing we could call it. And they've made peace with that. They can make fun of themselves, hopefully, and be okay with the fact that we're all a mess. And but yeah, these situations are not easy to handle. I've been part of exorcisms where the elder was able to get the entity to speak its name. That's one of the first things you have to do is get them to admit who they are. And then the elder has to take the entity out and move it through his own body in order to get it out of the person properly. Sometimes you can send it really far away, but more likely, if you don't move it through you, then it's going to come back into that person. I'm not a believer in exorcisms because I think if a person can't clear entities on their own, then they're likely to pick them up again later, regardless of whether somebody intervenes on them. But these beings we're in a very active world. The flyers are the ones that are have outmaneuvered us the most because they've lent
Are
us.
they in like a different frequency band, if you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I'm sitting in my room right now. For me, there's a wall and a chair and a painting, and but
Yep.
like there's clearly another frequency of vibrations and lights I can't see and hear. They're living in those ranges. Is that where they are? So they're here, but not really like in this frequency of here.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Right.
if you were to eat enough microdots tonight and get quiet enough, you might see them. And it's just, but you don't necessarily want to do that because you can't unsee them, sort of. It's kind of like you have to. So I've made peace with the fact that these things are around, um, especially if you go in the wilderness at night. You'll interact. Not the flyers. The flyers are more of like an overarching sort of energy that is controlling things with other entities, including us. Like we're being used by the flyers, right? So it's very disturbing. But it's these massive beings that project these smaller aspects of themselves, and they feed off of our cocoon. Most people get nibbled all the way down to the heels, and some people their light is all the way around at their peak, and they've learned to not feed the flyers, and therefore they get to live a really much more liberated experience. But you stop relating to people or being able to really connect to people who are being nibbled on. You find a way to be with them and enjoy the messages, but you don't feel at home with people anymore that are just unaware. So it's a very
So is it
massive.
like they're having their energetic or astral body? They're like eating their light body that's feeding the regular body,
Yep.
and that's why some of these people be kind of get like what we call demonic or
Yeah.
there's some people you just their vibe is just like, fuck, man, that guy has bad news. So it's like, what are these things getting out of us just eating the energy then? Is this what people are calling like loose harvesting and all that? Is that this or
Well, it's luminosity, right? And we are really bright, beautiful beings that we only live like a short window of time, where these flyers live like massively long lifetimes. So they've doled out their light to just the minimal amount. And then so we just appear to them like the most incredible food source. They just like us wanting to pick the berries off the plant, when they're ripe. It's sexual energy, it's vampiric, it's parasitic from there, but it's also just a necessary force that exists within a world of power.
we're just like food to them, just like we have plants and animals, right? Like they
Yeah.
they got to eat something, and we're probably the best. We're like the prime rib steak of the of the energy world. So it's like, so it's not really a bad or good thing. It's just that we then can't. First of all, no one believes such a thing. That most people, probably not my channels, but you're at 20 out of 21 people would think this
Yeah,
sounds crazy, batshit crazy.
for sure.
But in your world, the shamanic world, there's you guys see them, you communicate with them, right? Like you and I talked about that. I've had before where
Yep.
I've shut. I haven't even been on like any kind of weed or anything. I've just shut my eyes, or I've had a blindfold on because in the daytime I work nights, so I would sleep with a blindfold. Sometimes I have my eye open, even though the blindfold, and then like if I zone out enough, out of the blackness, these faces I was telling you about, like they look like old Indian men or almost demonic, but not scary. And they pop out of the middle and come down a tunnel, and they're looking at me. I've never talked to them or anything, but like or heard them, but it's like they're trying to talk to me, like they're flying at me, and then they go away, and another one comes, and they're like browny, purpley, greenish. Like, is this these things too, or is this?
There's just again so many versions of different inorganic beings, and trying to label which ones are what, it's just not really doable. There's just so much activity happening, and I don't have the classification. The Castaneda books are really good to read because it explains so many different types of encounters with different types of these beings. But I also interact with those faces, or sometimes it'll be like landscapes that'll be presented to me. And I think what happens is eventually you can stay with those faces and have conversations. You can, I've had somebody writing something out for me to read, which was just like freaky as fuck. But like there is this, so Carlos Castaneda developed a relationship with these beings, and one of them was called a dreaming emissary. And when he was in his travels in dreams, he could ask the dreaming emissary anything he wanted, and it had to tell him the truth. It was part of the deal. But it also was letting you know that the goal of being your dreaming emissary is hopes that you'll come live in our world permanently forever. And
The
so,
emissary wants us in their world, not they.
yeah.
We can't. Do they want to get into our world or not at all? They want
Well,
us to come to theirs.
I think there's all kinds, but this particular dreaming emissary was using a male voice, but was from a pure female world, which is a tunnel world, and they can't come here. They can only project themselves here and try to get us to come live with them there. What they offer over there is anything of your heart's desire, uh, to live as long as you want, but you can never leave.
Right. So you can't move back to higher, highest to source.
It's like a permanent decision, and so the Toltecs all have to face this. Uh,
Is this the
th-
crossing they talk about? Like, did the Toltecs want to go in there, or the Mayans? Do they want to go to that realm, or no?
it's freaky, but they say you have to be able to handle these types of seductive interactions and say no in order to pass the test. And then later on, you'll be so thankful that you need that kind of experience, and then later it leads to being able to do the crossing, which is to die without dying. And
And
that's the
then you
goal.
really truly get all you really want, right? So it's
That's
almost
the
like a
real deal.
it's like a fake source. It's
It
like the
is.
lower animal realm of the source, right? It's like you can have all the ice cream and sex and money, and right,
Yeah.
it's like they're luring you with the bullshit. You can have all the bullshit you want forever, but you can't have the real deal. That's pretty sinister, dude.
It's pretty gangster, and they just can't help it. They're very attracted as females. They are seeking male energies to come over there, so the succubus thing is real. Learning to become conscious in your dreams is it's annoying because you start realizing that there's a lot of sexual stuff that can happen, and you can get really, kind of beat up a little bit if you don't wake up in time. It can be pretty like uncomfortable to get your energy jacked in a dream. Um, but I remember having dreams as a little kid that were not cool, and I remember now and realize, oh, these we're just constantly being fucked with. And because we can't come to terms with that, we just try to sugarcoat everything and make it all seem okay. But I think it's both. We need to get realistic about the predicament we're in and where it's heading, but also have the time of our lives and make fun of ourselves and make fun of the tyrants and, just really be available to those that want to have perceptual freedom because the more of us that do, the more it rubs off on each other.
So like when we're dream, what we call we're dreaming now, but like when we're in
Yeah.
sleep dream,
Yeah.
what's the difference between that and like someone who has a near death experience or an OBE, or let's say you die, let's just say you die.
Yeah.
I have to say near death because no one comes back to tell us. So you have to like, or maybe the shaman do, I don't know, but
Yeah.
let's say the near death, is that different from the dream world, or are they in the exact one in the same place?
I don't know for sure. I think when we they say that these inorganic beings are have outmaneuvered us and we want to be able to face them before we die because if we don't, we'll face them when we die. And so I think we go into like a long dream when we die, and we have to deal with what was really going on here. And any unresolved emotional conflicts have to be worked through. Any debt that you owe, and I don't mean like credit cards, but like where you ripped off your friend, or something that leaves like this weird energetic thing that keeps you from being able to die all the way. So there's a lot of release work that we do when we die, and it is through dreaming that happens, and those inorganic beings that are interfering with our dreams are still a big part of that crossing. So we just it knowledge is terrifying because it opens you up to this world in which you can hear voices that are real. But also, it's better to wake up to that world now because you're going to have to face it when you die anyways. So it's just sort of like a concept to consider.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I see what you mean, because it's probably quite a shock if you think you're going to Jesus and heaven, and then all of a sudden you've got to deal with this. There's a lot of NDEs and OBEs where more NDEs. They obviously face the life review, and as you're saying, you can do that now if you can recall all the moments of your life or the bad ones. You could fix that now to make that less painful. But I've heard others say, it kind of like they feel all the pain they ever caused anyone, and through a spider web of net how that affected someone else, and like they feel the totality of the shock waves of you were a cunt to that person and
Yeah.
blacked his eye, and then you didn't realize the wife thought something, and then she like it just, and
Yeah.
then but apparently you also get all the love you caused too at the end, so like you get your ass whooped, and then you get like a big hug afterwards, like you're a cunt, but it's okay. Right? You could do better.
Oh,
That's why I kind of wonder, like, if you're someone who, you took the jab, you took the six boosters, and then got checked out with a heart attack. I'm wondering at the end, do you get the joke? Are you like, oh man, was I that stupid? Like,
yeah.
I'm wondering if you get like a little last laugh at yourself.
I mean, I do think that's exactly what happens. There's no way to hide anything when you cross. It's just all revealed and it's amazing. But it's also really painful. Like the Toltecs say that when you start to cross over or you're close to your death, this incredible longing. kick comes in because you start to realize that you didn't make use of the totality of your being. So we want to introduce that concept of, are we really exploring what we're capable of? And so like when you're in that creative mode of making art in the way that you do, you're feeling so alive and so thankful. There's so much gratitude for being that conduit. But a lot of people don't have that experience.
Because I don't think they, this is kind of what Alan Watson. I'm not really actually totally agreeing with a lot of Eastern mysticism. I think a lot of it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But I do agree that life is a dance, and you're supposed to be playing, and you're supposed to be making a game and having fun, even if you're Zen like. You need to, if you're doing something, like really get into doing it. Like Alan Watts said, even if it's the dishes,
Yeah.
like we all hate doing the dishes. It sucks, but like you can make a game out of doing the dishes, like rinsey, rinsey, plate, wash. So
Yeah.
I think it's like that. Like if I don't think you have to be doing something incredible to like make the best of your life. I think you just, if you're sitting there again, spending all your time listening to that shit chatterbox in your head that's pissing you off and missing what you're doing,
Right.
that's the waste of life, I think. And that's why I said, like, I'm not trying to live the 150 myself. I'm having a great fucking time, man. And like, if I go out tomorrow from a hit by a bus or cancer or whatever, I don't give a fuck, man. I had a great time. And reincarnation's interesting. I was going to ask you, so when you're talking to like your mother and others who have passed, when you're talking to them in dream state, are they like projecting into your dream world, or are they still there as an energy body? Are you talking to like an echo of them, or what do you think's going on? I know
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have the answers to all this, but
Totally. Yeah.
have you ever asked them, or like what do you think's going on?
Yeah, it feels to me like on a linear level, they've already left, but they went into my future when they crossed over and visited me at certain key points in my future. And so it's really cool. It's like they show up and I'm awake. Like one time I'm in a restaurant at a bar. I'm the only person there, and something happens, and everyone in the restaurant that worked there runs out the front door. And then my mom plays the song, that was just between her and I. And she just showed up. She emptied the restaurant, turned on the music, and just sat with me.
And the music really like came on the
Yeah,
jukebox, or
yeah,
radio.
it was the
Really,
real, like,
wow.
just boom, like, and so here I am, and it's just pure presence. It's just her love, and it's like this moment in time where we're not in dialogue, we're just in this feeling, and it just moves you to tears, and you just are in so much gratitude for the visit, and it's so meaningful at a moment in your life when you needed it.
Do you speak to her like telepathically, or in words like language, or do you hear it as words, or do you like communicate feelings and emotions more, or just
That's more,
gnosis kind of? I don't know.
I've played with all of it for a while. I was saying thank you and talking to her and telling her things, that I'm worried about dad but over time, no, it's just this pure presence, this feeling of total gratitude. I have this big smile on my face, or I'm crying, and they're just present with me. It does spill into dream time a little bit, but I'm not as good in the dreaming world when I'm asleep. I'm more good at making this dream fascinating. So I'm always gazing at the world in a psychedelic way, whether I'm on substances or not. And so I'm just having the time of my life. Like I'm walking through Los Angeles right now. I just got here and it's just like it's perceptual paradise to me. Like I'm not at odds with big cities or chaos or I love being in nature. I also love being here. And yeah, so Erica is here with me a lot. She shows up big time. We're like a force to be reckoned with. She is the reason why I'm teaching the way I'm teaching. Like she's been the one to sort of open the doors for me to meet you and everyone in my life by being a guide. And so I don't necessarily have conversations. It's just like these very powerful psychedelic feelings that come in and I get goosebumps and she tells me things. Some of the friends of mine have met her and they've had really intense experiences um, where she had a message to give them. or give me through them while they were on ayahuasca and things like that. So I'm not totally open to all that she has to say because I'm not psychic enough to pick up on her communication, but it's revealing appropriately over time. She's helping me to understand. I worked with a medicine woman that helped me realize that I had been clinging to her spirit. So I've let go and now we have a more healthy relationship, but for a long time I wasn't letting go of this ghost. Basically, I was one of those people,
That was
you know.
my next question, man. What is a ghost? Is that them, or is that like an energetic shell of them that's still like an
Right.
afterprint or an echo? Or well, there's no time, so is it like
Yeah,
an echo kind of? And then, because a lot of ghost experiences, not all, but it's like the same thing happens. Like the dude keeps walking out of the closet to the end of your bed, like he keeps doing the same freaking thing.
right.
So it doesn't seem like a being almost. It seems more like an after energy print that hasn't cleared out or gone. But what do you think like ghosts are?
I think there's that big time. There's also more activated ones that are really intense and playful. So I had one, I moved into a really beautiful home in Montana, and this one the house had been empty, and this ghost was had lived there for a long time, and he was turning up the heat like 25 degrees in the middle of the night. Finally, I had to just stay up all night and just be like, look, dude, we can't both stay here. Like, you're gonna have to go. I can't handle this. But he just wanted to play. It just wanted, and it was uncomfortable. My hairs on my back of my neck were up the whole time. It was presenting itself in very confusing ways, and it just wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable. I'm not claiming to be good at this stuff, but I've dealt with it enough that if you're afraid, that just makes them attracted. It's like they're attracted to emotions, whether it's inorganic beings, ghosts, entities of the night, shadow stuff. But I used to have the shadow stuff, very annoying situations where I couldn't be left alone and I couldn't sleep and I had to stop going to the wilderness. I had to like start watching TV and like try to shut down what was happening to me. And it was not comfortable. So I don't recommend people aggressively try to open their perceptual doors. I think we want to follow a very intuitive process and having a helper like someone that died become like there are trickster spirits, so you could be tricked and think that you're working with someone. So you have to kind of really trust your intuition and not be easily tricked in life as well as in dreamscape types of stuff because this place is ruthless and you never know what you're interacting with for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. I mean, that's really kind of why I don't,
Yeah.
I don't get into like learning the techniques of astral travel. I'm not really interested in fucking around with that stuff because I'm the first to admit I don't belong there right now. That's not where I'm at in my journey at all. But I'm really, really fascinated by it all. Like what's going on over there and with these
Yeah,
elementals and flyers and the fire elementals and
sure.
pixies and fairies and all that stuff. It's definitely real. But again, like we're saying, it just sounds crazy
Yeah.
till but you actually worked with some of the people who had worked with like Castaneda's group and powerful sorcerers and shamans, and these people can do things that just cannot be explained. Like it just can't explain it. It's
Yeah, it's
real.
amazing. It's all real. And you just sound like a crazy person if you try to tell people like Carlos couldn't find anyone to relate to in this whole world except for this one homeless person outside of the restaurant that he ate at because that dude could see energy. But even that homeless dude was scared of Carlos because his eyes were terrifying because he had seen so much and he was so alone because Don Juan had left the world. He no longer had the same people that he was with. They were part of their apprenticeship was to separate. You go through bouts of intense loneliness, but aloneness leads to all oneness. And when you realize that, like one of my teachers spent 18 years in solitude doing the magical passes, recapitulating and learning how to astral travel. And it is so worth it learning how to be lucid in your dreams because of how ecstatic it is. And it's a very healing thing to be able to have access to. And it brings so much purpose and meaning to your life. But I also am a big advocate to be very careful while you're doing it. Slow down. Don't try to achieve results quickly. do the recapitulation first so that you don't have these unresolved memory demons that are running the show. That's what the Siberian shamans call them, memory demons. And so our memories play a critical role. And if we work on our memory really well, then we'll gain access to our parallel lives. Some people do past life regression stuff before they recapitulate, and it's kind of dissociating because you really want to deal with this lifetime first and clear as much as you can here before you start going into these parallel lives. And I had a friend on LSD came out of jail. His brother told me don't give him acid. I did, and boom, he was right. Like this guy started speaking another accent and had a different story and was from a different place and was telling us all this information about his kids. And for like 2 days, he was stuck in this parallel life. And, had we not babysat him, he would have just ended up back in jail because it's so dysfunctional to have that schizophrenic condition, but that's very common.
Man, yes, because yeah, for like people who are listening. So basically, what you're kind of saying is the past and the future, even though from our perspective, the past has happened and the future hasn't, it's still all running together. So you, you could reincarnate back in 1645, and
Yep.
even though it's already happened for you, it hasn't yet. You'll live that,
Yes.
or vice versa. So I used to get into the Mandela effect. Like I did a lot. And there's the usual shit like JFK had four seats, in the limo. But the one that freaked me out was this guy who woke up one day and he had six daughters, and he was only married to a wife. And he wakes up and he's got these six kids, and he's like, "I'm telling you, I don't have six daughters." Like, it's same wife though. He's like, "Who
Wow.
the fuck are you people?" Like, yeah, I don't have six kids. And to this guy, it seems like that. It's like he woke up in a different alternate life reality,
Yeah.
even now.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm telling you, I don't have six kids. And David Parker told me about a guy. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not supposed to tell this story. Anyway, there was yeah, I don't know. Well, there
Yeah.
was a guy anyway, like he had a Mandela effect. He had been paying his mortgage for like 20 some years, and he woke up one day and his mortgage had been paid off for 5 years or 6 years already. He even had the bill of like the
Yeah.
deed of receipt, and it had been paid off. He's like, "This, I'm telling you, yesterday, this thing wasn't paid off." It's like he woke up in a totally different
Wow.
reality, but everything else was kind of pretty much the same. So I'm wondering if that's what this Mandela, some of the real heavy Mandela effects are this. Like you're just kind of you're waking up in a different thing,
Sure.
you
I mean,
know.
I think there's probably timeline jumps within this lifetime that you were on one track and then you get pulled into the other and you bring the memories from that other timeline. Because I think we've done this over and over and over. Like in the Matrix, he says the architect's telling him, you say this every time, just watch. And so I think we're in like a movie and
It's
we're
like
playing.
deja vu, maybe when you get a deja vu because you already done it. You're like, I know it's coming because it's. I had a weird one too. Yeah, I had a real weird deja vu where the first time I was at a place on the island where we had our farmhouse, we were driving to this paint store or whatever, and I knew I'd never been on this island before or road. I knew what was coming up around the corner. There was these little summer houses with a blue one and a red door and sheep, and they freaking were like 2 minutes later. And I'd never been down that road in my life. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, part of Carlos's training was Don Juan would move his perception to this very altered state and introduce him to all these people and take them to all these homes. And then he left the world, and then Carlos had to go back into situations that were triggering a part of him that remembered, but this other part of him did not. And so it was maddening to him to be reintroduced to people that he had already met, but they were all in on it. They knew that he didn't remember, so they were softening the blow or the jolt that happens when you realize that it's kind of like being a blackout drunk and finding out you did all these things that you didn't know you did, right? So that's an example of a assemblage point position shift that puts you in a different capacity And sometimes adrenaline and things come on in those moments where you can do things that aren't physically possible. So we're pulling from all these energetic resources and we don't realize how magical we are. And so it's like Carlos was trying to be taught in a very trickster manner that would force him to come to determine how incredible things are and how powerful Don Juan was. So, yeah, there's all kinds of strange things that we might not have a Don Juan in our lives to just totally intervene on us, but we have the world and the mother and the father guiding us and teaching us by how kinds of people we meet, what kind of conversations we have, and then eventually we'll be able to have enough people talking about this stuff that it has a ripple, on what's possible for humanity. Because these are the key pieces, not convincing people that there's no nukes or all that stuff's cool. But ultimately, what is going to help us is realizing how capable we are energetically.
Man, yeah. And to me, it's we placebo and nocebo is accepted. I've had my own placebo healing techniques on myself, but if you can accept that you can magically heal your knee, or there was that surgeon guy, he was giving people knee surgeries, but he wouldn't do the surgery, just put them
Yeah.
under, open their knee, and then they wake up and it's better.
Yeah.
If you can accept that, then you can accept that Don Juan and some of these sorcerers can walk on air across canyons when they totally believe. And I think they're pissed on whiskey.
Yeah.
So some people say, well, that's because the gin is in him, like the spirit, you got the spirit, the genie come across. It's like fucking whatever. But
It works.
if you can heal your knee without doing anything to it, why can't you walk on air?
Yeah.
I mean, the Bible says it. Jesus is like, all this I can do, you can do more if you believe it.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
believe that dude's walking on water, why can't you, man? I don't see any reason why not. It's just belief, because if all we are is in a light construct, a light cocoon,
Yeah.
a toroidal field, and it's all mind precipitated down, then really, actually, you should be able to fly.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the castaneta material is the you shapeshift into a crow and all of a sudden you're in the air, and then you come back into human form and you're in a different location than you started. A lot of people that do datura, which is really dangerous, have these experiences that are unexplainable. And yeah, Carlos walked on a bridge made of fog and he had to believe. They call it having to believe. It's life or death.
Yeah, you're gonna fall to your death if you don't. But that's the thing. It's like there's a difference between believing and knowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you have to get to, you can't believe, you have to know, because believe still is lie in it. You need to know you can walk on fog.
Yeah.
And if that takes, all you really have to do is not believe that this place is the reality we're told it is.
Yeah.
Once you don't believe this is what then you should really be able to do anything, really.
That's
And
the
that,
yeah, the unlearning, right? And the not doing. So the Toltecs have this whole subject called not doing. And inside of the not doing are all the things that will free you from being a doer. And it's the doing that keeps this place physical. But when you're not doing, the physicality, the illusion of physicality, it goes away. And you get to realize that there's so much more you can achieve when you're not bound to the physical.
well, isn't that, I mean, I spend a lot of time alone,
Yeah.
mostly because I have a public job, and you're a singer, like everybody wants to talk to you on break, and then I'm doing this. But to
Sure.
me, I think the reason I'm actually most happy and centered, because I just spend a lot of time alone and I love it.
Me too.
I don't get bored and I don't like get lonely or anything like that. Same thing, I don't mix my sexual energy with people. Like, I'm very careful about, I'm not out banging everything that walks out. Like, I'm
Yeah.
very careful about saving my seed and who I'm going to even lay with like that.
Me too.
And I think that helps. I don't know. It just gives you a different energy, and I don't know. It just seems to help with my creativity and all that. But I think being alone it's kind of, that's when you realize this isn't real, because if you're just sitting here, then really nothing else exists, right? You just, if you're doing nothing, thinking nothing, and just sitting, then what else? There's just nothing. And I also think it's great. I heard you talking about how much energy there is at night. You go on like dark night walks, right? And that's what the occult teachings are all about. Everyone says, well, the light is the source, and the occult teachings are no, dark light comes out of darkness.
Beautiful.
So darkness is actually the father,
Beautiful.
not light. You know what I mean? From darkness comes this light.
Mm.
And that's very opposite from a lot of religious views or other views. But I
Yeah.
found it when I heard you saying how energized you get from either the sun
Yeah.
or the darkness. I'm like, well, that's like these dark room retreats, right? Like Dr. Edith Chan and everyone's doing. They're blindfolded and in the dark, like super dark, not even a shred of light in. And they start seeing the energy fields of the couches and furniture and each other. Like all of a sudden, from darkness comes light, but there is no light source, you know?
Oh, yeah, that's for the Toltecs seek the darkness as a means to reset their field. And so they plunge into the dark, in any way possible, whether that's a night walk without the moon or just staring into their blindfold with their eyes open. So that's what's called dark room dreaming. And that's where those faces will come through. Those and those faces, if you can stay with them and isolate one and have a conversation with one, then all of a sudden you'll drift into sleep and you'll be having a conversation with that same being, but in a dream instead of this dream.
All right. See, I've never done that because, like I said, they're weird and like
Yeah,
some were demonic.
yeah,
I was just like, why am I of all things that I could be imagining right now? Why this? And I just didn't find them like pleasant to be. I was trying to like
yeah.
open my eyes and get rid of them. I didn't find
I'm
them.
not saying you would want to. I'm just saying it's an option, right? But when you go to sleep, anyways, you're probably going to be talking to those same beings, whether you realize it or not. That's just how they are. They're like trying to gain access to us and for positive and interfering reasons. It's just a very strange relationship perception. And yeah, man, it's so cool that it's good that you didn't try to do anything with it. But someday you may want to be able to handle the intensity of being able to do so. And you might get curious again, and or you could do something else with that. Being out in at night. Like I get up and do the shamanic movements in the dark, and you start to see tracers with your hands when you're doing the movements, and you're breaking up energy, and it's like this really psychedelic experience to have. Especially, I spend a lot of time alone too because it's for me the only way to like know ourself. And I think that's what we're here to do is not follow. Like it's that be yourself, fall in love with your existence and really get to know what it is that does it for you and go and get it, make it happen. And a lot of people are trying to copy Carlos Castaneda or try to be like somebody that they see as somebody being successful, but that isn't possible for you to remain creative and imaginative. And so, like you said, it wasn't your imagination. Those faces were actual beings. And so once you realize imagination and creativity give you access to images that are real, and that's why inventions aren't made up, they're presented to us.
Yeah, like you see it. You like it comes out of a creative will and a need. Like some guy you needed a hammer or something. He's like,
Yeah.
man, I wish I could open this coconut. And he's like, ta-da! Oh, you can just, you know.
Excellent.
So yeah, and I think that is imagination is the source of everything here. This microphone, the
Yeah.
desk,
Yeah.
it started in somebody's mind, but wasn't really even in their mind. It started at source, was given to their mind, and then
Yeah.
they either use their thinking mind to figure out how to make it. Maybe they got the idea but didn't, like, oh, you need to learn some metallurgy. Like, oh shit, well, how would I do that? Oh, maybe I should go melt some
Yeah.
rocks and see if something shiny comes out of there, like sharp or
Well,
whatever.
and also the flyers taught us all this stuff too, so that we would trap ourselves in a world like we wouldn't have built skyscrapers and cities the way that they were built if we were in our natural awareness. That comes from we've been taught all this crazy advanced shit. And we think that it's the engineers and all these brilliant architects and all this stuff, but they're just being used just like anything else. So we wouldn't be driving 100 miles an hour alongside of each other on freeways if it wasn't for the flyer's mind that makes that doable. Otherwise, we were too organic and open. We wouldn't have been engaged in such intent rat race behavior. But now we have to be able to borrow from the flyer's mind in order to drive in the highways of LA. Otherwise, you just I can't just be tripping out there. I got to pay attention. It's like going out on the football field, and so we got to be on our game. So it's okay to use the flyer's mind for things like that, but it's not something you want to be tapped into as far as being utilized as a means to perpetuate or build a prison for ourselves.
Do you think that that could be part of the source for the Christian story of the Nephilim, of the fallen angels, giving us all this, not mating with us, but or maybe even mating with us, but giving us all this idea and technology, kind of falling down. Could that maybe be the source of that story? Do you think?
I could see that, I think the Flyers, I think I think we were wild and nomadic and we were in beautiful relation with the earth. And then what the Flyers did was convince us to create a civilization. And that's when we started falling apart, is that we stayed put and we started, rather than having to hunt for food, berries and meat, which I think made us really strong. Then we started eating, having access to all these different foods, and then those foods got poisoned, and it's just like there's just a lack of purification that's happening. And so finding a way to heal now within a world that's designed to make us sick, then the G&M piece comes in. Like, okay, well, it's actually how you feel. It's about how truly emotionally healthy you are. But yeah, I think that these religions are trying to point to the different ways we were interfered with. I think it wasn't like so much out there. It was more like underneath the earth, or that these beings came back after a global or not a global, but a realm reset, and then they came back as looking and appearing like gods because they had preserved technologies and they had secrets that were lost during these floods or these resets. But I do think the stars are conscious and that there's other worlds that we can go to, and that shamans can learn to travel into the stars, and that we could enter into those realms and experience worlds just like this one. So my guess is if I was in the stars and looked down at this realm, it would appear to be light, not a physical world either. So I think there's just so much that we can
Like
unlock.
we'd look like a star to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I mean that's interesting. My friend Nicole Murphy, she's got a hunch that everything's supposed to be a toroidal field all in
yeah,
a tube.
yeah,
So if we're in one big one, then each one of those would be a little one. They might not be big, but there
yeah,
is no big once you go into another dimensional. If it's a portal to somewhere, it's just a portal.
yeah, exactly.
So like once you're in there, it's you could be that big. If the star was this big, you could
Yeah,
be like that big
it wouldn't matter.
because it's all just fractional. Yeah, it's experiential anyway. It's mine. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty tripped out. I'm a big believer there have been big resets here, but
yeah,
also like I was saying to you with the geometry, it's interesting what you said. When you look at all the Tartarian buildings and all the great stuff,
yeah,
then you look at the shit we're building now, it's all these metal square
yeah.
horrible boxes.
Oh, I know.
It's just so ugly. Even our furniture, like it's you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
it's pretty bad. Like that. No disrespect to your bookshelf back there, but like
I know.
a bookshelf in the 1600s would have like there'd be swirly shit all over it and big oak. Not this in your bookshelf, but
I
like
know.
it's just crazy the crap we have now. And it doesn't last and everything. And it is definitely like something's wrong with our mindset that we even accept this shit around us because it's like we don't even care about beauty anymore. There's no, we
Oh,
don't even want beauty around us anymore. We'll just settle for some
so true.
shit.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a sort of devastating and tragic, and it's bittersweet and all the things, because Don Juan also said to be of your time, and so we're gonna have to find a way to still love, this realm, even though we're in a de-evolutionary process. So being a witness to that and then finding a way to gain access to your own art so that, you are bringing beauty in. And yeah, it's all psychedelic to move deeper into our expression. I think that's where the healing happens is through dance, singing, writing songs, finding a way to contribute. And because if you can do something that no one's ever done, then this realm, it lends you energy because this realm is seeking to know itself, right? So like going back to like what you said with the darkness, I would say that we all come from the mother, the great mother, that the darkness is the feminine and it birthed the masculine. And then we're in the process of those two learning to interact with each other. My elder would say that there's only two tribes, the tribe of man and the tribe of woman. So it doesn't matter what race we are, but we do want to recognize how different men and women are. And if we can heal our relationships with our sexual perversions or fears or projections or me putting women on a pedestal or all the things that make it possible to coexist and to grow and intend and evolve together, I think relationships are the future. If powerful people can come together and find a way to be lovers without ending up, in a toxic soup of confusion and really honor the shadow work that happens when you exchange power with someone and get to know each other in all the vulnerable ways that de-armor us. There's a lot of evolution in these opportunities.
Yeah, man. But because it's a mess right now. There's the MGTOW men going their own way. They're just like screw all women. They're all psycho losers, and there are a lot of psycho women out there. And then the feminist movement's like screw all the guys. So, but this
Yeah,
is all by design. This is not natural. This has been coming from the top by design.
for sure.
But the way I see things is that um, there always will have to be a balance, and out of necessity, when we just don't have any more kids because we all hate each other, then that idea is no longer going to be serving as a species and a race and a people, and we're going to get rid of it. My dad used to say that to me. He's like, son, people only give a shit once you reach into their wallet or their back's up against the wall. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
like, that's what my old man said to me. And I'm like, you're right. Like, they don't give a shit until it's almost too freaking late. And then they suddenly take action. And so I don't worry about the long run. As you say, when you die, like you'll be incarnated in a future or a past one. We're
Yeah.
already really actually living out the future and past anyway. So
Yep.
as long as there's still an earth light cocoon,
Yep.
then it's interesting what you said about the male and female. Walter Russell calls the center between the left and right, or the middle, God. He calls it the still white invisible magnetic light of God.
Wow.
Invisible, meaning I'm guessing that we don't see it as it's white, but not we perceive. I would call that black. And
Yeah.
as you say, you think the source is mother and magnetism's female.
Mhm.
And from the still white mother magnetism, black darkness, comes the male fire sun masculine. So that's pretty interesting what you're saying. That kind of pegs off with like Walter Russell's view on
Cool.
what is the stillness. And we're always taught this too. You need to raise your vibration.
Right.
Well, no, whenever you need peace, you find stillness.
Exactly. Yeah.
If
Oh,
these entities are feeding off fear, fear is a high vibration. You don't vibrate lower when you're scared. You're radiating because you're shitting bricks, you're shaking, you're fevering, you're sweating, you're scared shitless, your heart's going, that's not still. so so I don't think you need to raise your vibration. If God is the still white magnetic light in the center, stillness,
yeah.
not an in breath, not an out breath, but the pause,
Yep.
then you need to lower your fucking vibration, not raise it. I think that's one of their
No,
double
it's
flip
yeah.
lies.
Yeah, also just rather than trying to ascend, right? Because that's like trying to get out of here. And I think the whole point is to be here. So we want to be able to descend, go down and have grow roots, like tree roots that anchor us to the earth. And that's where we get our sustenance is from her. And, then the sun is just as important. The metaphysical is where it's all that communication. I think the sun is like a projector. and we are an extension of it, that the light in our eyes is the same light in the sun. I think the moon is, a different light that cools the earth and that it's a necessary piece of the puzzle. I don't think it's an invader that needs to go away. I think it's just part of the storyline. And full moon nights are powerful, and there's a lot of power that comes with the dark and the moon, and we need to learn the secrets of, the underworld and the thunder and the lightning, and these are all beings that can communicate with us and teach us perceptual things. For some people, they're going to need to eat mushrooms to gain access to that. Some people don't require that. They can access it just by doing bold things like going in the woods alone at night and starting to get comfortable with the intensity that you'll feel there. And so, yeah, I think that the darkness reveals so much to us. Like when I had my gate of power experience where I was running in the woods without using I couldn't see anything, but I was totally being ushered down the mountain in the dark because I was being held by this incredible feeling. And so there's just tapping into that kind of magic and realizing that it's there without then trying to misuse that power to create a cult or to seduce people or whatever. Like it's such a delicate thing to gain access to these nonlinear things and then start to present them in the world as possible. People are going to try to project onto you or put you on a pedestal. And if you let that happen, then everybody gets hurt, right? So it's this giving permission not through promotion, but through just invitation to people who are curious.
Wow, man. You got me thinking too. You say you have to do your shadow work. I'm
Mm.
like, well, the shadow is the dark. That's the black. It's the absence of light. So if you have to face your shadow, you actually need to find your true source self. That's like
Yeah.
actually your shadow. They make it sound like it's all bad. You're like, no, you need to find the source of your light.
Yeah. And your
Uh,
power. Yeah. So
another one flipped around. Yeah,
your
fuck, man,
desire.
tripping me out, man.
Yeah, totally. You too, man. Yeah, the desire that we're told to like not have desire or whatever, but that's the passion piece is you want to fall in love with your existence somehow. And that happens through all kinds of means. So getting to know, like rather than beat yourself up for being attracted to women or for whatever it is that brings passion and fuels your desire to live a more fuller existence, it's all part of the journey. And so a lot of people are disciplined and aren't listening. So impeccability is listening. Discipline is more like rules and fear. And so a lot of religious people are disciplined, but they're cutting themselves off from their creativity and their imagination, right? So we want to get to know our
Because this are you saying disciplines you're disciplined because you're afraid of something, and then what did you say impeccability is? Are you saying impeccability is the opposite of discipline, or
they're kind of
doing
similar. They're similar, but impeccability is more like listening from a heart space as to what you want to be doing with your time. Where discipline is like you live by these set of rules because you're afraid of what happens if you don't.
yeah, man, that's like all the diet people, yeah, exact, yeah, okay, that makes sense, because that's the thing, they say there's a lot. I hear this going around a lot. um your lower animal, your sex drive, your food, eat shit, sleep, and whatever, fuck, drink, eat, all that crap. They're like, don't you need to stop wanting all that stuff so you can get out of here, right? You can't get out of here until you stop, because otherwise you're never going to want to leave here because there's too much of that going on. You can't have that in the spiritual world.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, I really love cooking and enjoy it. Like, I love it. So
Yeah.
how can this be bad? I don't think you can only walk around screwing, chasing after women, drinking, eating. Like, if you're doing that 24/7 and that's all you think about and
Yeah.
can't create anything,
Yeah.
okay, I think you got a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, good man. Yeah, no, you want to find that work-life balance and enjoy your life immensely. And but if you're constantly chasing after something outside of you, then you're gonna miss out on getting to know you. So that aloneness, that ability to just lower your vibration, get down into the earth, get super still. Carlos would look at Don Juan and he'd become a stone. He was like a statue, and it would make Carlos cry. because he couldn't even imagine what that would feel like to be that still. And so our ability to get silent, to reach stillness, to focus, it's infinite, and we haven't even begun to scratch the surface. And it's just a matter of how curious we get as to how intense that would be. So you can like stare in your eyes in a mirror and all of a sudden reach this really intense feeling. And if you don't panic and stay there, you just stay locked into the eyes, and the world will just start to melt all around you. And you'll actually meet one of your parallel beings right there in the mirror. It's called scrying, so
Scrying mirror. That's a black mirror though, right? Or
you could do it with any mirror. People say not to, but I disagree. I think why not just do it right now in the bathroom? Like it's so intense.
so you're saying you can see one of your other carnations from the past or future, even if you've lived to be haven't yet experientially to you.
Right.
If you look into your eyes long, we used to do that like the horror what we used to put the flashlight in the dark.
Yeah.
I believe in Mary Worth, you know, and then, like,
Totally,
she's
totally.
supposed to like appear, but yeah, it's pretty. I mean, you ever stare at your eyes on LSD in a mirror? That's a trip and a half.
Totally,
They
man.
say don't do it. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean they say don't do it, but I did it and I loved
Me
it.
too. I did too. I couldn't get it up, man. Like, damn, boy, you got some good looking eyes, man.
Mirrors are powerful, but even better is like a pond or something, that's not man-made. Natural reflective surfaces are really powerful to work with.
So
You
a
can,
scrying mirror was not obsidian. Was
yeah,
it
I'm studying.
obsidian? Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, around, they're round. You can order them, and
Right.
you'll just hold them in front of your face, and they are so powerful. It can be intense. You can see stuff that you're not ready to see, but I mean, you're ready if you've seen it. But at the same time, it's okay to not force ourselves to do these things until you feel a call, because it's a big door to open.
What do you? I mean, a lot of to me, my thing on death is like it's whatever happens, it's you can't. It's coming. You're gonna have to deal with it. But a lot of people want to know, like, do you reincarnate? Are you a ghost? Do you go to heaven? Do you go? Can you move on to another different realm? You know, after you have you can you reach enough experience here where you don't need to come back here, or do you want to be here? Like, what is yours and the shamanic view about?
Yeah.
I know you said like the Tol or the was it the Mayans or some people wanted to do the crossing.
Yeah.
I told so they want to go to a realm that's not quite source, but it's between. Yeah, can you? Sorry, that's just a really bad question. I'm just curious. What happens when you die, or is it
Yeah.
different?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so we all will have an experience with the dark sea of awareness when we cross, but most people will then recycle back into a parallel life after that. But if you recapitulate your life or you live a life of service, certain people are given passage. It's like a ticket, and you are told that you're going to be, having an alternative form of dying. And it usually requires that you've recapitulated, like Taisha does in her book, like a really thorough recapitulation. If you do that, you'll start to be able to have an understanding of this place as an illusion and start to unbind from it. And there's a group of people that can come become so good at working together and spend many decades training to do what they call the Sorcerer's Crossing, and where they all unify their attention together and all unbind from the physical at the same moment. And that energetic, focused state of that many people, it's usually 16 people or more, can make it possible to cross into what they found is this place called a white dome. And they meet in this white dome and they sort of live there, but also are able to then have access to what they call the somersault of thought into the inconceivable. So you can bounce from vision to vision to vision, and basically you are untethered now. You become one with creation. You can become a creator, even. You could become a sun. You could become a moon. You could become really or merge with anything at any time, or be all of it all at once almost. Like it's pretty. undescribable depending on how creative each person is. But if we don't move into that afterlife, and they say that you would only get to be in that role as long as the earth continued to exist because you were just being a different layer of her matrix. But if you were to not cross over, then you would have a glimpse of this eternity that I'm talking about. And then like a wind would come and pull you back in, and you would all of a sudden be, you know, in sort of a purgatory, a waiting period, kind of in that in-between zone, waiting for to be conceived into a parallel life, or just not that they haven't already happened though. Like you and I are probably in a memory right now. It's just like coming to terms with how intense that nonlinear concept gets.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because if we're already having a future one, then this is a past one to them.
Yeah.
This is really hard for people to wrap their heads around. But there was that book I had. I can't remember who wrote it, but it was called 20 Cases for Reincarnation, where the dude went through like 250 and he found 20 that were just freaking bulletproof.
Yeah.
And these were like, these would have been really almost linear
Linear.
reincarnation. So you can have a linear one as well.
There's so many cases of linear incarnations and kids that can that are they were writing songs in their last life and they come in writing the rest of the lyrics, or they're just these genius little kids. And so like and then there's weird shit like one of my friends, his grandfather died a year before he was born, and then he was born and his grandfather did a walk-in. So this guy had two spirits in his body. So that when the LGBTQ thing, the two spirit thing, it's actually a thing. But it's just very uncommon that they're making up and making it seem like other people have it. But it's there are ancestors that get caught in like ghost-like form and aren't okay with crossing over. They choose to stay here. They don't want to kind of face their creator or whatever. They hijack bodies. There's all kinds of weird shit. Like, and then the Toltecs, they didn't feel prepared to cross into these other worlds. So they didn't, and they loved the earth so much that rather than die, they chose to shapeshift into trees. So there's a lot of old Toltec sorcerers that are in the forests that you can communicate with, who chose to live as trees because trees live so long.
And they're still energetic being. Well, I mean, it makes you
They're
think
conscious.
twice about cutting down a tree, doesn't it? But I mean, it's still energy. Yeah. So then they have to release. Then what if you cut the tree down? They must release into back into the thing. And
Yeah, their days are numbered just like you and me. They just found a way to extend it. And I kind of think that if you try and extend it like that, it's almost unnatural, and it's a little bit like it could make death more excruciating than if you had just died instead of tried to escape your death. So I don't know that it's the thing to do, but I do understand that these sorcerers were very active and loved their adventures. And I think maybe they got too, we call it getting attached to the high adventure of the unknown. And then you become afraid of losing that power. So there's a lot of people that get lost in this work because it is seductive and in weird ways. So I can tell a tripper when they come to me that, there's a part of them that is got some really difficult shadow work to face because they're trying to use this work to escape their lives and not face themselves rather than it really requires the opposite.
yeah, I see what you mean. Like it's an intention, really. Because yeah, like you're saying, if you're doing it for the wrong reason, well, I can imagine though. Just like here, when you get once you get some power and some skills and stuff, it is like it is the power trip, and people get all power hungry and start doing evil shit because they get like
Yeah.
hooked on it.
Yeah.
Because it is good to be king.
Yeah.
Like it's probably cool to be Donald Trump. Like you can't even just there's like 20 Secret Service have to spend 2 weeks just planning on you going out to McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like car 72, we gotta cut, you probably get high as shit on it. And I can imagine you get real high off of real power because
Yeah.
you're I don't know, society or I don't know what you call it, social power, societal power. I don't know. Yeah, power here is not like power like you're talking about. You're talking about power.
Right. And so that's the biggest trap actually is why people don't gain access to power is that they're addicted to their social power. And so you have to be willing to let go of your social power in order to actually have real power. And so it's a really uncomfortable thing to face the materialism and any false senses of security that money might bring, any sort of wounds where, you have a lack mentality also that can get in the way where you're like a people pleaser and you're not really respecting what your time and energy is worth. So, this is not an easy thing to navigate is the relationship with social power and real power. And of course, real power is like you wouldn't want to have access to it if you hadn't faced yourself and got to know what the reason you're doing it for. Right. And so freedom has to be the ingredient rather than some form of unresolved childhood. I'm going to be the best, this or that or the other. Like if you're looking for recognition from daddy, this is going to be a trap for you. But if you've made peace with that stuff, you can start to build your power. And really it's the freedom of the afterlife. Like, can you imagine being able to be lucid 24 hours a day for a long, long time inside of an energy body, not a decaying physical body, but an actual infinitely capable, energetic, dreaming body that can blast off into other worlds and explore unknown realms. I think people, if they knew what was available, they would be really just having a stronger assessment of what their priorities are and start to get focused on how to take care of their energetic side. And that leads to having a strong physical body in some to some degree. Um, but I know some really overweight Indians that were fine. You don't have to be like some chiseled muscle man in order to handle the jolts of energy.
Wasn't like Don Juan like kind of a big guy himself, or what? Was he pretty big? Or
He was not, I mean he was really physically strong. But some of the cohorts that were associated were like really overweight older Indians, and they were fine. It just has to do with it's all G&M stuff, really. It has to do with how you perceive your reality and how you what you think of yourself. So like losing my hair, I thought that was the worst thing that could ever happen to me at a young age. But it ended up being like one of the best things that happened because I had to become something else that didn't require to have hair to be, happy. And so these little ego journeys, they're really important to have something that forces you to become more authentic than you would have been.
that's totally it. I mean, what vanity. I mean, you don't have to go around looking like an UGG boot, but like
Yeah.
you should try to look a little good. But yeah, it's the same thing when the more you're worrying about how everyone thinks of you. Again, we just how we started this talk, how everyone thinks about you.
Yeah.
You don't do other things and shine through. Where people are really more impressed with how you think or what you do or your actions towards others, or maybe they're more impressed by your singing or your dancing or your painting or just the way you listen to them. Or there's got, so I've had it. We've all had it where you like, when you think you're in love with somebody and then like later that don't work and then you look at them, you're like, God damn, she wasn't really that pretty. I thought that girl was like I thought she was like an 8, but she was a great cook though. Great personality.
Yeah.
Well, luckily I was married for a long time and she was also hot, which helps. But you know what I'm saying? It's funny how someone's beauty to you can change based on how you think of them. Like if you
So true. It's all energy. Yeah. And so women especially are typically shapeshifters. They're like energy changes based on their mood. And so finding somebody that's really, you know, beautiful on the inside and being open to all the different vulnerable opportunities there are to really let yourself fall into love without getting lost in each other or in a codependent dynamic. Because that's what Don Juan would point out to Carlos is that, that why did you overuse that woman in the past? Because he could see her. And he's like, you know, it just we tend to, if we're in a relationship, we consume each other rather than have that balance of aloneness mixed with, you know, adventuring together and having fun. And so it's hard to find people that get that and aren't offended if you don't want to spend every single minute with them, and also find somebody that's fallen in love with their aloneness so that, you know, two whole people can come together rather than be fractured, wounded people trying to make themselves whole through the other person.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that's what love is. You finally find someone who's paying attention to you and listening to you, and you feel safe and secure. And then you just end up taking from each other, getting bitter, or you know, some shit happens. I'm totally with you, Joel. Like, I think when overfloated is full is a way. Yeah, I think you should, like, once you're over full of your own energy and then you meet someone else's, you don't need each other. You just want to be together. You're not dependent on each other. It's not comfortable and safe. Like this, you know, this you can be safe here, but like that's no way to live.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you know, maybe it is, but I've never been the like safe guy, man. I've always been like, fuck it, man. Let's go out and do some crazy shit. And I heard your life story. Like you had a
Yeah,
pretty crazy ass fucking teenagehood.
for sure.
So, uh, yeah, I'm kind of with that. I think what we call love sometimes is probably not really what's going on. And then we see that deteriorate throughout certain relationships.
Yeah.
Usually a vacuum or yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, when I got divorced, actually, my drummer actually, he said to me, he's like, because like, it's like half of me got ripped apart after 18 years with the same woman.
Yeah.
Suddenly, it's like I felt like half empty, and my drummer was like, "You need to go reinvent yourself, Steve." So I
Yeah.
started like making paintings and doing shit I never used to do, and working
Cool.
out, like just doing all kinds of weird shit I never did.
Yeah.
And
Right.
he was totally right. Like, and whereas, and like she's still with the guy, but she went out and got another partner. And usually the women do. Usually the women
Yeah.
run into another man's arms, probably before the divorce is even really solidified, like on the side.
Sure.
Um, but to me, I felt really good that I didn't run out and get into a woman's arms, and I took the time to actually reinvent myself. That was like the greatest advice my drummer ever gave me. Like, it was like, wow, dude.
Awesome.
And it really did make me, and now I'm actually still like happily single.
Yeah.
I don't, I wouldn't date a woman. I've tried having a few girlfriends. It doesn't work out for a reason, but I'm not like bummed about it. It's just, it's to me, it's like, well, what do you, I would have used to say, like, what can you do for me now? What, or I would have said, what can I do for you? More like, you know, oh, I'd love to
Yeah.
have. Now I'm just like, well, what can you do for me? Like, do I need you in my life? Like,
Right.
what do you have anything to offer, or are you just hot?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? There's a huge difference, man.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I'm good for you, man. It's such an important process to get to know yourself is when you're not entangled in someone else's field. And yeah, and then you start being very, very discreet and discerning around who you want as a friend, let alone a girlfriend. And once you're okay with not getting laid all the time and you start using your sexual energy for creative things, you know, then you're not as hyper focused on the opposite sex, and there's so much freedom in that. And it's just a matter of time before the universe runs you into somebody that you're meant to do a deep dive with, and then you'll be so thankful that you weren't spent all that time chasing something, trying to make something happen, because that trust that whoever you're meant to meet is just it's going to be so strong that it's unavoidable. That's a lot of my friends are struggling with that, but there's so much freedom in just relaxing, being okay with where you're at and being thankful for the alone time because it'll lead to a connection eventually.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that probably happens. A lot of people get together because they're lonely.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, if you get lonely or bored,
Yeah.
that's probably a sign that you need to take a look at yourself, because I never get lonely or bored. I don't even have enough time in the day to do all the crap I want to get done. You know,
Right.
like I don't know how people are bored. I'm like, dude, come, I got shit for you to do then. Come,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
have too much to do. Come and do mine. So I think, yeah, it is that. It's about also accepting yourself. That I had a lot of trouble with that when I was, in my younger years. I didn't accept myself as I am, my
yeah.
flaws.
Yeah.
I know what I'm like now. I know that I'm a
Yeah.
Virgo. I know I piss people off. I know I talk too much when I should shut up and I don't. And I
Yeah.
know that I'm selfish in what I want to do in my ways, and I don't usually bend backwards. And I'm not mean to people, but like I take care of mines, and I'm glad to help. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay that I have flaws. I smoke, I drink, I got a beer gut. I don't give a shit, mate. You know what I mean? It's all
Wow.
good with me.
Good.
And
Yeah.
and to me, that's why I think I'm happy all the time, is because I'm not perfect, and I'm perfect just the way I'm imperfect. Like for me, I'm just what I want,
Perfect. Wow. Oh,
you know?
that's a great way to end it, Steve. I'm glad you're a happy person. I'm glad you're out in the world and that we got to meet on Telegram and hope to meet in person someday and shoot the shit with you, have a beer.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the other thing I was going to say. If you want to wrap up, but like speaking out the truth, like coming out and talking. I didn't want to even come public. Our YouTube channels, and they only
Yeah.
got popular because of the convid.
Yeah.
Like we were a small little channel with a couple thousand followers, and it was my movies about convid that
Yeah.
suddenly all this. I'm in these communities with doctors and all these cool people, and it was also that it was for me. I was like I said in that post with that Alan Watts, I said it took my dumb ass 15 years to figure out what he was saying, that you can't change just shut up, you're not going to change it all. As soon as I stopped putting all my energy into trying to get everyone else to like see what I think and what we need to change, that's when I started attracting people like you
Yeah.
and the people in
Yeah.
our group, the most amazing people, and I'm at Anarchapulco doing speeches, and
Yeah.
Anna Oliva's kids are blindfolded and we're playing catch and they're reading behind their head. I'm like, what the hell is this shit? It's supernatural. I heard about this shit, and I just started attracting like the kind of people that I don't have to complain about.
Oh,
Do you know
that's
what I mean? I'm like, you people are so fun to hang out with. I don't need to fucking bitch about weight. Like you already get it. So, I'm certain it was all not an accident. It was the shift I made to have the courage to just say, screw this. I'm speaking out.
yep.
I'm doing this. And I caught a lot of shit for it, but I did it anyway. And I
Oh,
think that, like I said, I think if you're in service, the realm conspires to do, it'll scratch your back,
big time.
even though other people don't. A lot of people get mad. They're like, I do all this for you and you don't do anything for me. You're like, it's that because you're expecting them to.
Yeah. Oh,
If you know a person's like that and you're going out of your way for them, then don't expect it to come back. Don't go out of your way for them. If they don't owe you because they didn't ask you.
oh,
So I felt like that. I felt like as soon as I started giving to the creation without asking for anything back,
wow.
it just started piling on tenfold, man. I'm sticking with that.
Beautiful. Oh, stoked for you, man. Yeah, that fake that pandemic, it shifted everything. It changed the course of so many of our lives, and so many of us have met because of it. So although it was a really wicked psyop, it plays its role in bringing us all together. And yeah, it's just amazing conversations with amazing people. And thanks so much for your time today. Let's let people know how they can find you or anything you want to add here at the end.
Oh yeah, I should. I never do this, man. I'm also an author of a couple children's
Oh,
books.
cool.
That's another thing I did when I reinvented myself. So this is our newest one, the Goons Laser Balloons, Dukes of Dents. They're on Amazon. So you
Awesome.
got the holidays coming up. If you need any last minute Christmas gifts for the kids, get
Oh,
those.
yeah. That's great.
Otherwise, yeah, you can find me at Spacebusters on YouTube, BitChute, Odyssey, Vigilante TV, Rumble, and if you want to write me, spacebusters@hotmail.com.
Awesome.
And Joel, great to catch up with you. I know we've been writing online, but like it's cool to chat. And yeah, I'm sure one day we'll hook up in person for sure.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have a few beers, and it's just really nice to meet people like you. And I know you were supposed to be interviewing me today, and I'm more I'm more picture brain.
Oh, I
I was
love it.
like, screw me, man. I want to hear what you have to say.
I like to
But
just have conversations, so that was perfect. And I'd love to have you on again and just keep the conversation going because there's so much more we could get into.
love to, man. Anytime. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay,
Cool.
cool. All right, Steve.
I'll let you stop recording and I'll stay on.
Cool. All right, much love, everyone.